So Samsung Unpacked is happening, and once again, sorry Samsung, I can't go this time. I'm just too busy. Oh well, maybe next year. But honestly, it's fine because it gives me time to really research as well for you and talk about this phone that, rumor has it, almost didn't exist. Of course, I'm talking about the Galaxy S26 Plus. I'm Alex and I do down-to-earth tech videos. Usually the Plus model is this awkward middle child that, kind of sits there being ignored while everyone, including myself, coos over the cute baby S26 or the big powerful S26 Ultra. But this year, the S26 Plus might actually be the smartest buy in the entire lineup. Let me explain. See, for a while, the leaks said that Samsung was going to kill this phone. They wanted to replace it with a slim model. And we all know how that went. A thin, light, and terrible battery life probably didn't match with the target audience for this phone. Thankfully, sanity prevailed, they scrapped the idea, and we are now sticking with the Plus. The Plus is a phone that improves on the base model in terms of a bigger screen, it charges faster, and it might, just might, have solved the Exynos nightmare. Let's find out if bigger really is better in this case. If you've seen my last video on the base S26 model, you know that I was a little bit frustrated. The base model is still stuck at, 1080p in 2026. Well, this is where the Plus model, it kind of, becomes not just a bigger device, but also starts to make sense as the better one. The S26 Plus keeps the Quad HD Plus resolution, that's over 500 pixels per inch as well, which in terms of pixel density, that's pretty high in the industry. If you read a lot of text or you watch a lot of 4K, high-res content videos, you will notice the difference for sure. It's crisp, sharp, and it uses the new M14 OLED material. So it's blindingly bright as well, without draining the battery, and that's an important point we'll get back to in a moment. Or at least, so we hope. This is all based on well-researched data, but still not announced yet. From a design perspective, the entire lineup is thinner, and I'm so glad that they didn't go with that slim concept. Rumor has it that the slim version was gonna be under 6mm thick, which sounds really cool, right? Until you realize that it leaves zero room for heat sink. With the S26 Plus, we are getting 7.3mm in terms of thickness. It's still incredibly thin, thinner than the iPhones, to give you some perspective, by some margin as well, but it has enough room for actual internals and hopefully a decent battery. And this is what I mean, that this could be the smarter, grown-up choice. You aren't sacrificing battery just to look cooler at a coffee shop or whatever. That's not what Samsung is trying to do here. Now we have to talk about the processor again. Just like the base model, if you are in the US, you are getting the Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5, lucky you, and it's probably the 4 Galaxy version, which means it's a little bit even more overclocked than the standard Snapdragon 8 Gen 5. A great chip overall. But for us here in the UK and Europe, we're looking at the Exynos 2600. Now, it might feel like a little bit of an experimentation, so part of me is excited because it is a 2nm process chip. It's a, kind of very cutting edge stuff. But I can also hear you groaning because I'm groaning internally as well, because I always go back to 2022. But there's a twist with the Plus model. The Plus is physically larger. Samsung, according to rumors, and Samsung's own documentation as well, has fitted it with something called HBB. This is basically, in very simple terms, I have done some research, but even for me it's like, okay, it's flying over my head a little bit, but it's a copper block sitting on the top of the chip, moving heat directly from the chip to a vapor chamber. So it's a quicker way to dissipate heat and maybe more efficient. Combine that with the new 2nm architecture, which is, like I said, proper cutting edge stuff. It means that the brain of the phone is smaller, more powerful, but way more efficient. So fingers crossed, it actually runs cool and he's able to do multitasking, and because one of the things that I've realized recently is that it doesn't matter how powerful the chip is. For example, if I take the iPhone and do like run a high-end game, and then I try to export a video, a 4K video in CapCut or whatever, at the same time, just switching apps. What the iPhone will do is, well, first of all, the iPhone will crash when you try to do that. But even the S25 Ultra, what it does is it closes apps in the background. So when you switch from the game to the export, to the video export, the game will basically close and get you to log back on. So it will look like you can switch quickly, but actually in the background, Samsung is closing the app. With newer phones on this Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5, what I've seen is that you can actually run both processes, so the game and the export, without having to close one or the other. In the base S26, I'm actually a little bit concerned because the phone is actually a little bit smaller, so it's going to be tricky to see how they managed. But in the Plus, with a copper block and this massive vapor chamber, this might be the first Exynos that, in years, that you can game and perhaps export the 4K footage at the same time without frying your hands. I will be doing my usual here and testing this rigorously when it comes out. If it throttles or overheats, you will know about it. Remember when I cried about the 25-watt charging on the base model? Well, with the Plus, Samsung continues to redeem themselves because, and I just hope these rumors are true, but apparently we are getting 45-watt wire charging here. Is it the 100-watt charging that we see on the OnePlus, the Honor, Xiaomi, etc.? No, but 45-watt is respectable. You can get a solid top up in 20 minutes, and that's a big change when it comes to Samsung anyway. And at the end of the day, you are filling up a 4,900 mAh battery. That is nearly the same size as the current S25 Ultra battery, but you don't have to worry about powering the S Pen, the digitizer, or the camera hardware. With that efficient screen and the new chip and this bigger battery, I think, again, this reinforces that point that this is easily going to be a 2-day phone for light users anyway. For heavier users like creatives or someone who travels a lot taking lots of photos, it's still going to be a confident at least a full day battery. And yes, the icing on the cake for me is that Qi 2. Just like the little sibling, it has that magnetic wireless charging. I can't stress enough how good this is. Being able to finally snap your Android phone onto a magnetic car mount without sticking ugly metal rings on your case. It's a quality of life upgrade that you will never want to give up, and is the end of the envy that you might have had with your iPhone friends. And I can't share much about it yet, but I will have some very cool accessories coming here as soon as it launches, so make sure you subscribe for that. Now, briefly on the cameras, when it comes to the Plus model as well, the cameras have really impressed me in the S25 and particularly on the S24 Plus, because at that time, the S24 Ultra was giving me some issues, and the S24 Plus, in some cases, outperformed it. Gave this phone to my son, and he's 12, pointing and shooting. I think he tried, some of them are like portrait mode as well. But one thing he noticed, well, I noticed when he came back, was this shot specifically. He's inside, and there's a lot of sunshine outside. But if you notice the sky here, when he came back with this, I was like, how is that sky not blown out? And then I said to him, okay, can you go back and do the same with the S24 Ultra? And this is what I've been talking about, and basically prove to myself that I'm not mad. This is, exactly the same sort of shot a few seconds later, maybe a minute or two later, but notice the sky on the S24 Ultra. So maybe there's hope for the Exynos on the S26 lineup, Now, going back to the S26 Plus camera, it's a 50 megapixel unit, and leaks say that it has a much better light sensitivity and cleaner processing. Samsung is calling it agentic AI photography, which just means that the phone figures out what you're trying to take a picture of and fixes it before you even press the shutter button. I think this is really cool, and it's something that I've seen in other phones as well of being an issue. The viewfinder doesn't always relate to what you see in the end, and that processing after you take the photo can be a little bit disconcerting. It gives you that idea that it's a fake shot. I might look a little bit skeptical because I am, but this could be a massive game changer. There's always a but, and it's a big one. Don't get too excited about the zoom on the S25 Plus. The Plus is still having the 3x telephoto lens. It's 10 megapixels. It's fine. For quick portrait shots, it's great. But if you want to zoom in on that squirrel across the park, or if you like using zoom in general, you're going to want the Ultra for that. And dare I say, if all you care about is zoom, there are plenty of fantastic Android options out there as well that I've reviewed here and potentially have a better camera than the Plus, full stop. So where does that leave us? The S26 Plus is looking like it's going to cost about $999 here in the UK, about $1,000. That is a lot of money. But when you look at the S26 base model, which is held back by its smaller screen, charging speed, I think the screen resolution as well is going to be a bit of a letdown with that one. And you look at the Ultra, which is bigger. As a reviewer, is the one I would go for. but it's heavier and is more expensive. The Plus feels like the rational flagship. It has this beautiful sharp screen. It might not have the anti-reflective display of the S25 Ultra, but it has a bigger battery, it has fast charging, and it has that new thermal cooling technology that actually handles that new Exynos 2600 power, which could make this phone a really good buy. By the way, if you use the link below, you can pre-order it. You don't have to commit to anything, but you get a big discount when it comes out. It's worth doing it. Of course, you're also helping me. If you buy through this link, I will get something back from Samsung, hopefully, but you don't have to. Your viewership is much more important to me. So if you don't need a stylus and you don't need to photograph the moon, this is probably the one to buy. I'm hoping to get one in as soon as possible. I'm gonna try and get the Snapdragon and the Exynos to really try them both. Clearly, lots more to come. Make sure you're subscribed, of course, if you enjoy this content, so you don't miss that head-to-head, but also plenty of comparisons with other phones as well. But I am really curious about this. Would you consider the Plus instead of the Ultra this year to save some cash and better weight on your pockets or whatever? Or is the lack of zoom and the S Pen, is that going to be a deal breaker for you? I'll see you in the next one. Cheers. I'm sure it's coming.